Miami Dolphins fans always ask the question, why does Tua Tagovailoa get so much hate? The guy has gotten better nearly every single season, and it still seems like he never gets the respect that he deserves. And before Tua Tagovailoa dealt with all those injuries at one point last year, he was an MVP candidate. I know some of y'all may forget that, but he was playing at an MVP level prior to the Miami Dolphins going on that losing streak. And going into this year, I think Tua Tagovailoa is poised to have another good season like how he did last year. But for you Dolphins fans out there who wonder why Tua gets so much hate from NFL fans on social media and analysts on national television, I'm going to explain to you guys why I believe people hate on Tua and have so much criticism of Tua. And I think the most important part of that question when it comes to answering it has to be the fact that remember who was in his same draft class when he got drafted 5th overall by the Miami Dolphins. Joe Burrow, aka Joe Brrr, he went number 1 overall. And then the second quarterback taken off the board, it was Tua. And you know who got drafted the pick right after Tua? It was Justin Herbert. And then in the second round, it was Jalen Hurts. And if you were to ask any non-Dolphins fans which quarterbacks would they prefer, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, or Joe Burrow, or Tua Tagovailoa, I'm pretty sure 99.9% of those people with a functioning brain are either taking Burrow, Hurts, or Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa. And Tua Tagovailoa, up to this point, hasn't been as good as those other QBs. And you Dolphins fans can throw all the excuses that you want to for Tua, but you know, if you had money on the line right now, you have to pick between Tua and any of those other quarterbacks that I just mentioned that got drafted in that same draft class, you're taking those other QBs. Brian Flores, it's been well reported and well documented that he didn't want Tua. The Dolphins took him anyway. There's a reason for that. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people criticize Tua. And that's not saying that Tua isn't a good quarterback. He is a really good QB. But the knock on him is that he's not an elite QB. When you take a quarterback in the top 5 of the draft, you're looking for a franchise-changing quarterback. You're looking for Joe Burrow. You're looking for somebody who can be that man who doesn't need the best team around him, who can overcome certain limitations that your offense may have. Joe Burrow in his second season, starting for the Cincinnati Bengals, coming off a season-ending leg injury, took Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. Yeah, he had Jamar Chase and a fantastic group of wide receivers, but he went to the Super Bowl with one of the worst offensive lines to ever make it to the playoffs. He was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL that year. Joe Burrow was sacked 70 times that whole entire season and was still able to get Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. And you can say, well, JT, Joe Burrow had a good coaching staff. Okay, Justin Herbert didn't get a good coaching staff when he got drafted by the Chargers. Anthony Lynn got fired. Justin Herbert is on his 3rd offensive coordinator. So for all of the reasons that you can use for why Tua hasn't been able to perform at the level of guys such as Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, those same reasons prove why those guys are elite QBs. Elite QBs are able to overcome certain limitations. They make the guys around them look better than what they are, and make the guys calling the plays look like a genius. Justin Herbert didn't have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams all last season. Both of those guys missed significant time with injury last year. For Tua Tagovailoa, a lot of Dolphins fans make it seem like he needs everything to go right for him to be successful, which proves why Tua is a good QB and not an elite QB. Elite QBs are able to overcome weaknesses and limitations that they may have to deal with on offense. That's why they get drafted high. And for Tua up to this point, he hasn't been as good as Joe Burrow or Tua. He hasn't even been good as Jalen Hurts. And you can say Jalen Hurts has a better situation, which I agree with that. I think it is fair to say that Jalen Hurts still has a little bit more that he has to prove. But when you look at Justin Herbert, I mean, this dude carried the Chargers to the postseason with no run game. and a bad offensive line that dealt with a lot of injuries, and the offensive coordinator that was holding him back with his conservative offense. So that's one of the reasons, and probably the biggest reasons, why Tua Tagovailoa gets the hate that he does. Another one is that he's not as talented as the quarterbacks who were drafted in the same draft class as him. He doesn't have the strength of an arm that Justin Herbert has. He's not even as good as an athlete as Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, or Joe Burrow are. So he's a limited athlete, does have a strong arm. So that's also a reason why people criticize and hate on Tua. Every time Tua's throwing a deep ball on social media, there's a lot of people that always go to the comment section and say, oh, he underthrew it. Even when he put the pass right on the money, people will still say that he underthrew it, which tells you that a lot of people don't really watch football. They just go with whatever narrative the media throws out there. They just run with it. That's Tua. And also Tua is unable to stay healthy, which may be the second biggest reason why Tua gets so much hate. You're a franchise quarterback. You got to be on the field to be able to produce and help your team win. When you're not on the field, your team is at a disadvantage. So when you look at the three biggest reasons why Tua Tagovailoa gets a lot of hate, first one, he was drafted in the same draft class as Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts, and he got drafted above Jalen and Justin Herbert. I'm pretty sure most people believe that Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts are better quarterbacks than what Tua is right now. And that's not a knock on Tua saying that he's a bad QB. He is a really good QB. He's just not an elite QB like a Justin Herbert or even a Jalen Hurts is. And if you want to say that Jalen Hurts still hasn't proven that he's an elite QB, you need another good season of what he did last year, I can understand that. But you still can't deny the fact that Jalen Hurts right now looks like a better QB than Tua when you watch the film. It's not like Tua didn't have a great group of receivers. He may not have had the offensive line, but if you put Jalen Hurts with how he played last year and replace with Tua Tagovailoa, I don't really think there's a big drop-off in production because of Jalen Hurts' ability to extend plays and also pick up a lot of yards with his legs. So that still goes to another reason why people criticize Tua, which was my second point of he's not as talented as Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. Joe Burrow isn't the most athletically gifted guy neither, but when Joe Burrow decided to get outside the pocket and run last year, he had some damn good runs. I haven't seen Tua had as many runs as what Joe Burrow had last year. Joe Burrow had a run against Kansas City in the postseason last year when he did a damn spin move. He did a damn spin move and picked up, 10, 15 yards to move the chains? Like, Joe Burrow is a way better athlete than what a lot of people give him credit for. He has the ability to get outside the pocket, extend plays, throw on the run, and also pick up yardage with his legs. Same thing with Justin Herbert. Tua doesn't really have that. His game really isn't built on improvisation. It's built on being able to get the ball out fast, being a quick processor, and being really accurate. So this segment isn't me hating on Tua, but it really is me explaining why Tua gets so much hate. This is me giving you guys reasons for why people criticize Tua constantly on social media and don't really give him a fair amount of respect. I do think that Tua played at a really high level. He was a MVP candidate at one point last year, and people just kind of seem to forget that or just throw that out the window because the Dolphins entered a rough stretch of the season where they struggled. They struggled against San Fran, the LA Chargers, and you can use concussions and the bad offensive line as a reason for that all you want to, and the team not playing good. But at the end of the day, he was a top 5 pick. He was drafted ahead of Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. He's always going to be compared to those quarterbacks. And if he doesn't end up having the level of success as those QBs, people are always going to continue to criticize Tua Tagovailoa. People are always going to let the Miami Dolphins know that they picked Tua over 2 quarterbacks that were better than him. And if Jalen Hurts ends up having another great season, that's going to continue to make Tua look a little bit bad in a lot of people's eyes in the national media and for the people who have all those Twitter fingers on Twitter. And imagine if Jordan Love ends up being good. Imagine if Jordan Love balls out for Green Bay this year and he has a better season than Tua. That's going to be another knock on Tua Tagovailoa because the rumors say that Brian Flores wanted to draft Jordan Love instead of Tua. So if Jordan Love ends up balling out, then people are going to be proven even more right. And even if Tua has a good season, he's still not going to get a fair level of respect until he's able to play at the level that Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts are playing at right now. Tua has to get himself in that top 5 quarterback, top 6, top 7 conversation where he is viewed as an elite quarterback. And I'm not saying that Tua isn't a good QB. He's a very good QB. You can definitely win with Tua. And I definitely believe that Tua is a top 10 QB. But to get in that elite quarterback conversation, you got to be a premier QB. You have to be a top 5, top 6 quarterback right now. And most of the quarterbacks I just named are arguably the best QBs in their division. Justin Herbert, he gets a little bit of a pass because he's playing against Patrick Mahomes, the greatest QB of our generation right now. Joe Burrow is the best QB in the AFC North. He's the second best quarterback in the NFL in most people's eyes. And Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC East. Tua Tagovailoa, where does he rank amongst quarterbacks in his division? 3rd, behind Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. So when you're asking yourself why Tua Tagovailoa gets so much hate, you got to look at the quarterbacks who were drafted in his draft class, who he was drafted ahead of, and how those guys have performed up to that point, or up to this point. And so far, Tua hasn't been on the level of Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts, who he was drafted ahead of. And that's why a lot of people slander and criticize Tua Tagovailoa at a kind of relentless rate. And people in the national media are always going to talk about it. There always are going to be comparisons of Tua to the rest of the quarterbacks and his peers. Now, if Tua ends up winning a Super Bowl, then that's probably going to change. People are always going to show respect to a first-round pick who delivers and wins a championship because you're a first-round pick. You're a first-round pick for a reason. But so far for Tua, he just has had bad luck. If he came out of last year's quarterback class, he would be the best quarterback from that class. Any other quarterback class that didn't really have too many QBs, Tua would be viewed in a way better light compared to what he is now coming out of that 2022 NFL Draft with Herbert, Burrow, and Hurts. He's always going to get compared to those guys. You're always going to get compared to your peers. And nobody cares about the situation. That's why I keep trying to tell you Dolphins fans, like, nobody's going to feel bad for Tua. You can try to justify why Tua isn't as good as those guys. But if somebody was to come up to you today and ask, hey, would you rather have Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, or remain with Tua as your starting QB, you're going to take those other 3 QBs over Tua Tagovailoa. And you can come down to the comment section and lie to me all you want to, but you're lying to yourself and you're lying to everybody else because everybody knows that Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, and Joe Burrow are better QBs right now, more talented quarterbacks than what Tua Tagovailoa is.